to take what we learned from yesterday and we are going to bring that into today's lesson. Today we're going to take a look at creating percents, decimals, and fractions together. They all mean the same thing. So the most important thing you are going to notice today is that everything is kind of based out of 100. So if we're making a fraction, we want it to be out of 100 because that's so much easier to read and much easier to turn into a decimal number. How are percents related to fractions and decimals? Well, I don't know if you're aware of this, but a lot of states actually charge sales tax on items that you buy when you go to a store. You've probably noticed that before. So, for example, if you purchase something that costs $20, you can't just hand them a $20 bill. You have to add a little bit extra onto that, which in these cases they call sales tax. So, in Indiana, sales tax is expressed as a fraction. They say sales tax is 6% of the item that you buy. So that means 6% is what number over 100? 6. 6 over 100. Good. So now if we wanted to change this 6 over 100 to a fraction, what would we do?
Put the 6 and then a slash and then 100.
Okay. So you know that 6 over 100 means 6 divided by 100. Now, there is a very easy way to do that on the calculator. You hit 6 divide 100 equal, if you have a calculator. But if you don't have a calculator, you have to do this. Now that looks funny, doesn't it? It does, but we can do it. We can do it. We add, well, first of all, a decimal, and then a few zeros, however many you need. Well, 100 doesn't go into this. It doesn't go into 60, but it does go into 600. So that's what you would have gotten if you would have put that into the calculator as well. Now, we can take this and we can make that a decimal, or excuse me, a percent. It's what percent? 6%. We also could write it as a fraction. So all three of those ways mean the same thing. Sam, I'm going to have you, no, I'm not going to have you do that. I'm actually going to do something a little bit different today. Okay. So we're going to write 3 ways to describe this grid. We're going to write it as a percent, as a decimal, and as a fraction. But we're going to simplify that fraction, okay? So take a look at the yellow grid and tell me what fraction is shaded. Brendan? 50 over what? 100. Good work. Now, can anybody simplify that in their head without writing it out? Alexis? We could divide them both by 2. Sure, we could. But there's something way bigger. We could divide them both by 50, and if we did that, what would we get, Alexis? How many 50s are in 50? And how many 50s are in 100? Okay, so 50 over 100 means a half. So there's our fraction. We're done with the fraction part. Now, can we write this as a decimal? Sure. How do we do that, Cole?
Well, we divide by...
We're just going to write it as a decimal. So we could. 0.50. Okay, you're right. We could put this in our calculator, 50 divided by 100, or 1 divided by 2. And this is what we would get. Or, like Cole said, we could do this and see what we got. We would get, oh my goodness, I'm getting dizzy. So 50 over 100 is 0.50. 0.50. Now how would we write that as a percent? Natasha? 50, it's 50%. So most of the time today, you guys, you aren't going to need to do this because you're going to be able to do it in your head. Moving on to the next example. Write the percent, the decimal, and the fraction in simplest terms. Sarah, give me 1.
The percent would be 20%.
Good work. How about the decimal? Aaron? 0.20. Good. And how would we write that as a fraction? Caden? 20 over 100. Can anybody simplify that for me in their heads? Or at least tell me what I should divide both of those by? Alan? By what? Yeah, the biggest number. We could divide them by 2 or by 5 or by 10, but we want to choose the greatest common factor, the greatest number they both have in common. So that would be 1/5, right? Okay. Now, as we've moved along in the year, you guys need to know this without having to write it down. 20 over 100 is 1/5. This is what we're doing today. Easy enough? Let's try this one. Percent, decimal, and fraction. Sky. This is 7. 75. 75 over 100. Okay, sounds good. Can anybody simplify that for me? You should be able to do that in your head. What's the biggest number you can divide both of them by, Dathan? Uh-huh. So you would get 3/4 is right. What's the decimal way to write 75 over 100? Aiden?
0.75.
And what's the percent way to write it? Will?
75.
This and this and this are all the same thing.
We're going to have to simplify today.
You will have to simplify. There will be some that are not necessary because they have a prime number in them. Let's take a look at some sample questions here. Okay, take a look at the shaded portion. Which of these shows the shaded... Oh, it's important because that's what ICU is all about. Okay, here we go. Which of these gives all three decimal, percent, and fraction? Brendan, say it again. D as in dog, he's right. 34%, 0.34, and 34 over 100. Which of the following, this is a tougher one, equals 1/5? Aiden?
A.
No, not A. All of these are out of 100, right? All of these are out of 100. So we have 1/5, but we want it to be out of 100. What do you think, America?
C, 20%.
It is 20%. Check this out. How do we get from 5 to 100? We multiplied by 20. 20 over 100 is 20%. Aiden, do you see what you did? That's right. Next one, very similar. Which of the following equals 1/4? Sam? 25%. I'm going to be honest, guys. By 5th grade, you should know what that is. You should know what this is. It's just a given, just like you know your multiplication facts. How about this one? 4/6. Well, first of all, let's simplify 4/6, just so that we kind of know in our heads. What could we divide both of those by? 2. So we'd have 2/3. So really, which of those is 2/3? Another one you should just know. Aaron's dying to tell me, so I've got to call him. No. If you had your calculator in front of you and I said you could use it, how would you figure this out? 2 divided by 3, right? Well, I'm going to show you what you would get in your calculator. You'd get this, which is basically this. 67%. Now, 1/3 1/3 would be 33%. Will? 1/3 would be 33%. 70% would be 0.70. 6% would be 0.06. Not 0.6, 0.06. Aiden, I need your eyes and ears up here the whole entire lesson. Okay? Next question. Jimmy walks to school 88% of the time. What fraction means 88%, Eileen? B, 88 over 100. Good work. Okay, I would like for you guys to look at, okay, I'm going to push pause. I'd like you to open up your textbook to page 400, and you can share that picture with the person sitting next to you. Picture number 6 is a shaded blue grid. Here's what I want you to do on your blank iPad screen. I would like you to write me the shaded portion of picture number 6 as a decimal, as a fraction, simplified, and as a percent. Go ahead. Number 6, this one right here. Don't forget to simplify. Is anybody willing to share their answer with me? Cole, I don't care what order you give it. 0.10 or 0.10.
1/10 and 10%.
Okay, Cole started out being 10 over 100, and he simplified that. There are your 3 answers. Check yourself. Did everybody have enough time with that? Next time, tell me I'm not done. Let's go back, and this time I want you to look at number 7, the orange grid, and do the same. Give me the fraction, the decimal, and the percent. Don't forget to simplify. Okay, Dathan. Good. This started as 25 over 100, and he divided both the top and the bottom by 25. That's the biggest number you can divide by. You could have divided them both by 5, but then you would have to do it again. One thing I think we need extra practice on in the next month is simplifying. Yeah. All right, let's go back to number, I want to skip to number 9. Number 9. Simplify again, Alexis. There you go. Good job. Sarah.
60%. 0.60. And 3/5.
Okay. She started with 60 over 100 and divided them both by 20. That's right. That's the biggest number. 20. Yeah. Okay. Now I'm going to have you go back to the last one, and this is the trickiest because it's so spread out. Number 10 is pretty spread out, so be careful. And my suggestion when you have a grid like this is to do it twice to make sure you get the same number twice.